Okay. Hello, everyone. I think we can slowly start. So thank you for joining. My name is Alexandra, and I'm part of the marketing team here at Graphlore. And I would like to welcome you all to this webinar in which we will walk you through what's new in Hume 2.10. We will have a live Q&A in the end, so feel free to ask questions via the Q&A tool or in the chat if that's easier. And I would like to remind you that the recording of this webinar will be sent to you after, so you can watch it again. And with that, let me introduce our speakers. Esther Bergmark, who is the Director of Product Management here in Graphlore. Esther has 10 years of experience in product management and marketing in fast-growing technology companies, and she holds double master's degree in communication, politics, and sinology. At Graphlore, Esther is in charge of Hume, and she's leading the growth of the product line. And Miro Marki, who is our graph specialized anthropologist. He started as a front-end developer and later changed into product. And he combines experience in ethnographic analysis, graph data modeling with Neo4j and JavaScript data visualization. Miro also holds a PhD in cultural anthropology, and at Graphlore, Miro facilitates project communication and helps clients to extract actionable insights with knowledge graph solutions. So over to you guys. Thank you.
Thank you, Alexandra. I think it's on me to start before Miro will walk us through the demo. First of all, yeah, great to see so many here. Thank you for joining. As you see here on the agenda, we have a fully packed hour in front of us with lots of new things that we want to show you. 2.10 is indeed a big release. We want to show you the new features that we added to Hume with commons, collaboration, and real-time data analysis. We want to show you the features that we moved from experimental to general availability with grouping, temporal analysis, and geospatial analysis. And then there are a lot of things that seem small, but have a big impact. And many of those originate from ideas that you sent in through our idea portal. So let us first look at a summary and then at the live demo. Okay, the first one of the new features, I would like to mention collaboration. With 2.10, Hume enables collaboration two ways. One is sharing snapshots where people that work in the same knowledge graph can exchange data and also add comments. We come to that in a second. And then there's temporary visualization that can be shared with people that investigate on the same data set. Yeah. Then there can be comments that can be used to add further information. And as you can already think or guess, these two features strengthen the analysis capabilities of Hume. So analysis doesn't happen separated from others anymore, but you can cooperate or collaborate on it actually. What new features did we add? Sharing of snapshots and temporary visualization. You're going to see both of them in the demo that we have in a minute. Commons, I already mentioned them twice. With commons, users can add information to data. They can enrich it with their own analysis. Combined with sharing, these commons open up for exchange between colleagues. So information can go from one colleague to the other and conversations can happen. It's possible to add comments on the visualization to single entities, nodes, or maybe relationships, or to multiple entities at the same time. So maybe a full path or several nodes, relationships, everything together. Also on the overall visualization and on snapshots. Now, these comments are not persisted to the database. That's important. Yeah. So it's not annotations, but it's really commenting on findings that you see. Let's move over to real-time analysis, something that I personally find super exciting. It's now possible to observe data changes in Hume in real time. So an analyst can follow a particular node on the canvas and see directly, in real time, what happens to that node. If you combine that with geospatial analysis, data changes can be observed in real time in their movement through locations. And what's the feature that we added? It's the capability of adding, of defining auto refresh actions. You can configure them in a way that they reveal data changes in a time frame or intervals that you customize, right? So it could be every 10 seconds, 20, 30, however often you think is relevant for that type of data for that node. Okay, these were our top 3 features. Let's move over to the things that we moved out of the experimental phase. First of all, thank you to everybody that tried them in experimental and gave us feedback. That really helped us to improve them, stabilize them, and now make them generally available. The first thing I want to mention is grouping. Grouping reveals patterns without the need of digging deep into data, right? You can also understand patterns in data sets when you first open it on the canvas and look at it. The feature that we added is complex grouping strategies. You're going to see in the demo that you can build grouping strategies to a high level of complexity. It's really fantastic. And then we did other stabilizations that we hop over right now, but they're very nice and make the feature round and good to use. Then we have geospatial and temporal analysis, which have been in experimental for a few weeks before we now stabilize them. Geospatial analysis places data in a context on a map, while temporal analysis places it in the context in time. Both analysis modes can be used independently, of course. Not every use case needs both, but if they are used in combination for the specific use cases, they have a lot of power. So you can try out both depending on what you need to analyze. With those 2 analysis modes, analysis now goes quicker, it's more accurate, and the insights can be gained with the context of the geospatial context and the temporal context. What features did we add? We added geospatial analysis in a more stable format and also temporal analysis. Yeah. Okay. What are the small things with a big impact? Here, I would like to thank everybody for submitting ideas to the portal and inspiring us to do changes. Actions is one of the things that we really want to spend a lot of focus on, because actions is a very, very powerful feature in Hume. What we did with this release is that we made it easier for admins to create actions, especially when it comes to explaining what this action does. We know that many administrators create actions for other users to use. So it's important to also convey information a bit more detailed about what the action does and how it should be used. You're going to see details in the demo on that. And then analysts can now see this information, understand better what the action does, and also use them more intuitively and have a quicker access to their favorite actions. What are the features that we added? On the admin side, we added a better organization of the create action dialog. There's now an autofill for the action name, a small thing, but a big headache. A description for actions. And for the side of the analyst, the end user, it's the sidebar that is now visible for explorers, so they can see the whole action area in the side as well. And they can set actions, or they can define that they are favorite and can access them easier and quicker. Okay, the next thing that we worked on was styles. It's now easier to capture properties of data on the first view. And that's done through numbers and text strings, or text strings that can be surfaced on by styles. So you can have on a node, for example, a badge that conveys a number or a text string. It's also easier to understand the meaning that might be implied in data through adding icons in a badge. So you can, get a much better impression about what this node or the properties in this node are actually about. So what are the features that we added? The possibility to add values, numeric or text, in the badge, and icons in the badge as well. Okay, good. Last but not least, we worked on our documentation. We moved the Hume documentation to a new portal, and there you will be able to have a much more powerful search. When you use the search, you will be able to understand better to which part of the documentation the search result takes you. We have a more fine-grained navigation in the new tool. We created a new user guide that allows frequent and infrequent users to pretty much browse through instructions without necessarily having to read them, and orientate themselves more through visual clues, through images, and then bullet-pointed instructions. So it's kind of a quick user guide. And then we reworked the operations manual, which I think many of you visit quite often, to give very detailed information about the installation, the upgrade, the maintenance, security, and so on. And also the release notes are to be found there. So you should all have gotten login instructions for the new portal. If not, please reach out to us and we give you access. Okay, I think we come to the favorite part of the webinar. Miro, would you like to start with the demo?
Yes.
Yes, okay.
Okay, let me share my screen. All right, so you see my Hume installation here?
Yes.
Okay. Hi, thank you, Esther. Hi, everyone. I will just now demonstrate a few of the features that Esther mentioned. So I start from a visualization here in the Murder Mystery Knowledge Graph, which is a demo knowledge graph that we maintain. The data come from Neo4j Summer of Nodes of the 2020. It was a hackathon. It was fun. It's a simple murder mystery scenario where you have crimes and people and some objects connected to people, like a license, a vehicle, some events, and basically the whole fun is basically finding who done it, as it is said. So I will use this throughout the demonstration. I will start to get some crimes, and I will use the search bar where the city is the famous city of Graphville. So I get my crimes here, and if I open the properties of those, I see that they have a date for each of them. There is a date. So what I will start with in my analysis, and I'm playing, like, say, the analyst now, it's to enable the temporal analysis that Esther was speaking about. So we go to the analysis side panel here, and then open the temporal and switch on the temporal analysis. Now Hume configured it automatically to load all these classes into the time bar. I am good with that, except the person last seen date. I actually don't want that for the moment, because I'm not interested in the last moment where a person was seen, but I actually am interested in the events themselves. I want to focus my analysis on January here. And what I want is an action that can load data, event data, in the time range that is defined by the time bar here. So to do that, I will go to the action panel, which, as Esther said, now it's available to any user, even the explorers. And I know that I have an action called load events, right? So for example, now I could use the search bar here to quickly search for it. And I noticed that there is a description. So the description helps me to understand what an action does, even if I didn't create it myself, right? For example, in this one, it says that it loads new event nodes in the current time range. And by new, it means that they are not already in the canvas, which is nice. And then it tells me how to do it. This is just a simple example, right? The creator of the action can write anything they want here. So I need to set the time range and then run the action. And there is even a link to the user manual. So there you could have a link to your own internal documentation or the Hume documentation. So I will just actually now run it. I focus on this day, the 15, and run it from here. Yes, and I see the events coming in, and I will go one day before, and I can even run the action from the context menu, for example, load events in time range, and I will go even one more day before, run it again. So just to get some data, you know, around the the moments that I need, that I care about. So if I run this action many times, then Hume will ask me if I want to save it as a quick access action. But I also can do it manually here just by adding the quick access from using the stars. If I do that, then it becomes available in the first level of the context menu, and this will be then easier for me to find the favorite actions. Right? This is binded to the user. It's a user preference. But in this case, I don't want to use that. I want to show you another way that you can make an action reactive, and it is by using what Esther said about the auto refresh configuration. So I will edit now this action. And here in the bottom area of the action editor, you see that we have an auto refresh area, and I can turn on, for example, the on time range change option, which makes this action reactive to changes on the time range in the time bar. The way it works is that here, as an action creator in the content of the Cypher action, I can now use the context parameter. And as you can see, now I'm matching some events and making sure that those the daytime of those events is between the from and the to extremities of the time range. So context is always available now as a parameter in Cypher for actions. And here you can see with these helpers, inline helpers, you can see the shape of the parameter. So you can see that you can get the time range or the map bounds if you are in geospatial mode, including the center, the height, and so on. Even the context menu, which is the coordinates at the position of your pointer if you are in map mode. So there is actually a second line here, which I mentioned before. It says also that it will get me new data always because it's not in the canvas. So this is the line that explains that part of the logic. And again, there is a canvas context helper here, which says how to reach all the properties of nodes and links in the canvas. This is actually very powerful because it's not only to get the data which is not in the canvas, you could actually access any data that you have in the visualization canvas now. So you can even imagine you can use this to analyze data in the background that you have in the visualization, for example, computing centrality, or you could now access computed attributes that are computed on the fly by Hume, and then they are stored in the canvas. So now in Cypher, you could access those attributes if you want. But for now, I'll limit myself to this using of the context and the canvas. So I will update my action, which is now auto-refreshing. And I can use this dialog here to control my auto-refresh actions. So I can now say this load events in time range, I will enable the auto-refresh. I can do it from here or also from the actions themselves, but this is handy to check what is auto-refreshing or not. So now if I go to, for example, the day after where I didn't have data, and then you see the data coming up automatically because the action is rerun on the time change. I will disable it for now because I am happy with the data I have on screen. Do a quick layout. Okay, now I have, let's continue with the analysis, right? So, so that I feel like a bit of an investigator. So I have the events. I want the people connected to those events. So I will just expand selectively with this relationship. And now I want to start my analysis on people. So I check the properties they have, but in this data set, the thing is that all the things I care are not there, right? Like the color of the eyes, the height, the age that I want to use to select my people to investigate. But I know that they have some license data coming, from another data set into the same knowledge graph. And these license objects, they do have the things that I like to use. So for now, for this demonstration, I will use this information. So I select them all and get all the licenses. All right. And now I can start working on licenses. So I want to create a few styles first. First of all, I will pick my investigation style which is like the default that I use on investigations. And now I want to add a few rules, like definitely I need the gender. So if it is male, then I basically change the color to light blue. Yeah, okay, so now I can immediately see males and females there. I also am interested in the eye color, brown, yeah, brown, I need the brown. But I want a badge actually, so yeah. And I want to add also an icon, as Esther said. Now you can add icons inside the badges, which you can use to expose further information. In this case, I just use it as a enforce. No, sorry, not blue. That was brown. I get something like a custom brown here. And you can, so this is an enforcement of the same information, but well, actually no, because it's saying that it's the color of the eye. So, and I also want it for green, so I'll do the same for green, picking this one. I still add the same icon. I hope that the connection is good enough so you see the movements of my mouse and so on. If not, please just tell me, I will go slower. And now I see the males, the females, and the brown-eyed and the green-eyed people. Now that's interesting, but it's a bit, let's say, confusing at the moment because of the expansion that I had to do. So what I will do is move on to the grouping area here in the group inside panel. I will enable the grouping and create a strategy. I will start easy by say the eye color. This is a name for me, and I will group license nodes and saying, okay, if they have the same value in the eye color property or attribute, then they will be grouped together. So now I already see this. I know it's more compact. It's more understandable. I have all the green-eyed here and the brown-eyed, they were here. I can go inside and see them. But what I want to do now, and this is why I want to show you, this is because I want to show you the new feature that we added into the 10, is to create a more complex strategy here. So I can say that, first of all, I want both, I mean, either green or brown color, but I also add a condition. So I say that this nodes, license nodes, they should have the eye color either green or brown, and yeah, I don't want the too young, so the age is bigger than 20, for example, right? And this is now a more complex condition. I could add more conditions inside the same group. I could even change the logical operator to, that determines the relationship between those conditions. I could even add another group of conditions and have an independent logical operator between groups, and I can add other groups as well. But for now, I will limit myself to this. I want everyone, I mean, every license which has either the color or the age. And I forgot to eye color and all the 10, 20, just to give it a name, or actually, my people of interest. Let's say this is my strategy now. Okay. So now I can go into it, and I have all the licenses that I am interested in for my investigation. So they are around the date of the crimes in GraphVille. They have either the color that I need or the age that I need. I think I am happy with that. The only thing is they are all more than 20, but I don't see the age easily. So I will actually change these. Instead of the icon, I will show an attribute value, and I'll pick the age. And I'll do the same for the other rule that I have here. So I will actually switch to age printing, so that I can see now easily who is younger, who is not, who's older. Of course, you can print any attribute there. We also have an automatic management of the size of the string or number that you would put there. So depending on what it is, it will be shortened or trimmed. truncated actually. And then of course you can see the full value in the tooltip. So this is also another feature that we added in 2.10. And now that I have the thing I want to focus on, I will actually select them all by expanding my selection and delete everything else. And this is what I want to bring on the geospatial analysis. So we'll go to my analysis tab one more time and turn on the geospatial one. All right, so again, Hume configured it automatically to load the position property from all the classes that they had a position defined in the schema. This is because of the typing that we have. So in the schema, those properties were typed as geospatial. Now, this is of course useful because you can see stuff plotted on the map. Of course, coordinates here, I added them randomly. So it's good enough that they are not all in the ocean. And but you see, we have this cluster by proximity feature. So this breaks and creates clusters. You see, depending on the zoom level. So if they are distant enough, then they will be broken apart. If they are not, because they are too close, then you can always double click on it to do the maximum zoom. And even if they are on the same exact position, they will be expanded. Now, what interests me is that those group of people is actually connected here. I see to someone, right? That has the red dot. That those are the threads that I have in my database. So I want to actually get a little bit more information about the movement of this person, and I have another action for that, which is people position sequence. I could investigate the definition, the description again. So it says I have to select some person, so it can be more than one. Okay, that's interesting. I will do the test with 2. And then run the action, and then I can explore the result in a preview dialog. Okay, so this action that I created is actually generating nodes that we call managed nodes. Those nodes are generated based on the person attending an event, right? So every time the person attends an event, and then it's created this managed node, and then also a link is created between each of them in sequence. These nodes do not exist as they are shown here in the actual Neo4j database that I am looking into. And what we did for the version 2.10 is that we allowed, I can go paginate into the result here. So this is the other person. What we added in 2.10 is that the ability to manage the IDs of nodes in an easier way. So you can use any string now for the ID, which allows you to create the action. I will show you now. But anyway, I would select this person that I was interested in and add it to the canvas. It didn't show up too much, but that's just because it's covered by other stuff, and it's also part of the time filter. So some of the other event positions were out of range. So here, then you have all the typical time bar features, like you could play back time and visualize the sequence of movements and so on, this kind of stuff. But let's go back to where I was. I don't want to lose my focus as an investigator. And I wanted to show you the action just 1 second before moving on. No, not this action. The events, that was this action here. So you see now I am generating some nodes here, just concatenating as you would do normally as a developer or as a configurator, data scientist. You would concatenate nodes IDs together to generate a managed node. And this is now what you can do easily without any issue. We also, that will improve also the ability to get nodes or links from different resources in the same canvas, because we prefix them with the resource ID. All right, so let's go on. go back to the group that I was interested in. As you can see here, there is the presence of this bad person, and I have the other two people. So, this is enough to me to actually say, I want to create a comment on this group of people and nodes. So I will add the comment here, and I will add a comment, which is to, think like I'm thinking to share this with my colleague. And so I will ask him, please look at the group containing the bad guy or him and tell me what you know about him. So this comment now I added, and as you can see, it's shown here in the list of comments. I can investigate it. If I want to, I can add other comments to the visualization level, not only attached to individual objects. And as you saw from my example, you can add comments to group of objects. Now the comment is there. This is good enough for me for the first step. So I will just zoom a bit out to get a bit of an overview. Too much. Yeah, like that, and save a snapshot. So now I'm sharing a read-only static data version of this visualization. I will create it first. So we'll create it snapshot investigation. 1, 2, 3, 4. Sorry. Let's see if I can come up with a better name. But we'll also add a comment to the snapshot immediately, because I wanted my colleague that receives this to actually have some instructions. So this is the GraphBill middle January crimes investigation, first findings, more to follow. And I think I will even add, let me try if I see, I did download facts, just to remind this colleague of mine that I need facts, not just opinions. Now that the snapshot has been generated, and if I go, it will be here in my in the list of my snapshot. Or I have all these filters here, but this is it. And I can share it from here. That means I can create a shareable link. I can copy and give it to somebody else. I don't know, via email, for example. To simulate this, I will open another browser with another user that just pastes the link or clicks on the link. Actually, clicks on the link. Now, because this other user that I'm impersonating now had access to the knowledge graph, then they can see the snapshot I shared with them. If they didn't have access, they couldn't see it. Now, the snapshot is static, so they cannot edit the data. But what they can do is to check the comments, or of course, it's interactive, so they can zoom in and enable everything that can be enabled, and they can see the comments. So all this feature of sharing a snapshot with someone else in the knowledge graph and commenting on it has been added to this version 2.10. Now, you see, I open the comment, I can immediately see the description here, and I have all the other comments that are attached to some items, so I can even locate them on the screen if I want to, and select them, or and they will be highlighted when I hover them. And so here I see, please look at the group and then tell me what you know about it. That's good. So I can say, sure, and so on. I will not go too much deep into this simulation now, but this is how we now can communicate between users on the same data findings. Now we'll go back to my the other user, which is the owner of this snapshot. So another feature we added on sharing is that the owner of the snapshot here in the sharing option now has full visibility of who, through the link, accessed the shared snapshot. So I see the generic explorer, that's the name, has clicked on the link, has access. And I can even control this further. So I can say, actually, it was a mistake. I pasted my link in the wrong chat. So I blocked this user, and now I can see it in the list of blocked users. And if I go back to the other user, which didn't refresh the page, now I will try as this user as of writing another comment, and the system will tell me, no, you don't have access anymore. And as soon as I go out of this view, I don't have the snapshot shared with me anymore here. So this is how you can, as owner of a snapshot, control who has access to it, and then of course restore and revoke the access. I think I'll go back to my visualization one more time to show you a couple more of features. So that was it for commenting and sharing for my demo. One more thing that I want to do is to use the temporary visualization feature that Esther mentioned that we added in a particular way, let's say. So let me just disable a few things from here so that I can see the people only. I created also an action here. We'll actually show you the content of the action before running it. I created an action which is called explore node in another perspective, right? So here I'm using this feature, which is the temporary visualization URL patterns to actually create some jumps. So this is the typical URL where you pass the knowledge graph, then the ID of the perspective. If you want, that's optional. Otherwise, we take the default. And then you can even optionally pass some action name like this load node by ID and some parameters, and even check which view should be used by default. Right. So if I do run this action, explore node in other perspective, now I am using this feature from a action, but it's meant to be used from anywhere, right? So this is just the ability with a URL to create a temporary visualization with specific parameters and so on. So, for example, you could create these URLs from Excel sheets in a a Microsoft Excel sheet where you have all the fields, and then you create automatically the fields, or you can create it in other systems and use them to add new features to the other system analysis. Like for example, in this one, we'll create a new temporary visualization with this perspective and passing this ID to it. So I will open a new page here, new tab. It's generating now the temporary visualization and loading the person that I wanted to load. Now you can see here that it is a temporary visualization, and it will expire automatically in 2 days by default. That's configurable, of course, from the configurator, from the admin. I can save it if I want by clicking it. It will prompt me immediately to the save dialog. Otherwise, if I leave it, then basically, if I keep this URL, it's still available for 2 days. Then it will be automatically cleaned up. So the beauty of this is that I changed perspective. Before I was in the murder mystery one here. So you can change the perspective. You can even change, jump to other knowledge graphs if you want. And for example, here I could have other stuff, other nodes or other things like, for example, I don't know, probably here around, I would have some earthquakes. Okay, yeah, so this one is a layer, for example, that loads earthquakes from a different resource. Sorry, we want to edit it, which is GeoHackathon resource. So it's a different database, a Neo4j database. I'm loading earthquakes there. It's again an auto refresh action that I can use in 2.10 if I enable the auto refresh to automatically refresh when I move the map, because I checked the map bounds context. And this, I also am using the map bounds context to get only data in context. So of course I have a limit, so I set a limit, so I might leave something out, but when I move here, then it will load some data in the view. But one more thing we can do now is to run map cursor actions that they show up when you right click on the map, and you can access the context of the coordinates of your cursor. And you can use it, for example, to get nodes nearby. That's the simulation I'm doing now. And again, here, because it's a action that requires some input, then it's the description can be shown here as well, which is very handy. So in this case, I right click, I run the action, then I select the distance in meters from the position, or leave blank to use the full height. Okay, so I'll try with the 300 kilometers. Okay, I see something. I actually maybe want more, just for the, so I will leave it blank to get the full size. Okay, now I will show you one more feature we added, which is the auto, the real-time analysis. So I have this action, update real-time. It's simulating the movements, change in the data. That's what it's simulating, right? It's simulating change in the data of these people, very randomly, as you can see. So forgive me about that. But the point is that if I know that my data is changing and I know that it's important that I get the update, I don't have now to refresh or rerun stuff. Like now, probably my randomizer has created impossible locations. Sorry about that. Okay, but I could show you another feature. So if the author, if there is a problem with a query which is running automatically, then of course it will stop the automatic running out for you, so that you can, you don't have these dialogues every time. So this, I will show you this action last here. That's the update real time, and except the code, which is, as I said, random. Now you can see here that it's updating every second to give you a real-time view. So scenarios where you can use these are endless, but for example, besides the geospatial analysis, you can also think of if you are analyzing Twitter hashtags, and then you can get the new tweets as they come into the database, for example. That's to give you just another idea. Now I am done with the visualization new features. We have other improvements, but those are the main features. I hope I didn't forget any. I will just show you a quick one, a quick feature that we added in Orchestra to close with that. So I have a layout here, test layout. So Orchestra, as you know, or if you don't, Orchestra is the strong arm of Hume, where you can manage all your data flows and data streaming pipelines. So moving data from the graph into the graph, into different graphs, analyzing the data in between, like doing data science into the graph, using other resources like relational or NoSQL, and also moving into NoSQL. And so you can do all this kind of stuff. Now, the problem is that often when you are in development mode, you create your workflows. Like, for example, this one starts with a RSS feed, some monitoring component, then you go into, this is a web parser that parses the web page, then you, these are two skills that extract the entities, and with two different skill sets, and then so on and so forth. You end up with some messy layout of your workflows. So now you can run automatic layout. So that was requested and it's now available. And what it does, it will apply our the same layout we have in the visualization, which optimizes the flow left to right to be readable. And as you can see here, we added also a few new components in 2.10, in particular the MongoDB as a data source, Google Cloud as a data source. Neo4j Reader, we actually made it a stream component. So now it streams data out of Neo4j, keeping the memory consistent. So it's now better for that. We added also the XML file processor. So you can process XML files, and the JDBC writer. So before it was possible to read from JDBC compliant databases. Now it is possible also to write back. That's very useful to move data, dynamically when you need to, for example, for compatibility, to for them to be accessed from other places that read SQL, for example. So that's it. That's the last feature. I actually might close with look at the documentation website. So for example, if I now search for geospatial, you can see you have finally search ability, configure data layers. I don't know, for example, I want to know about data layers. Now I get there and I can see exactly the guide about data layers, how to enable them and so on. So that's it. I pass on to you again, Esther. Thank you for listening. You're muted. Esther, you're...
I'm talking and talking, sorry.
No worries.
I said, thank you, Miro. That was a great demo. Really a lot of cool things. Thanks for that. And I would actually like to hand over to Alexandra, because you wanted to guide us through the Q&A, right? Miro and I are now ready to receive all your questions.
Okay, yeah, thank you. Thanks, guys. Yeah, we have a couple of questions. So first one is, how do you treat different time zones in the temporal analysis?
Okay, I'll take that. So I didn't show you the option for this. So this is what we do. So we allow you for now to have two setup. One is the UTC, which is a typical setup that we see in our clients, that they need to store dates in UTC or Zulu time zone in the database. Now there is an option that I didn't show, but you can just check it, and it will allow to show on the screen the dates as UTC. That is very handy because you don't have to do any conversion. So even if you have events in different time zones, they will still be every event data would be in dates would be in UTC. Also for collaboration among analysts that live in different time zones, and that's also sometimes used. So that's an option. And then there is the default. The default is that as any, I mean, the default for front-end application is to show you dates converted to your own as user local time zone. So if the date in the database is UTC or not UTC, it doesn't matter. We still the front end, the UI will still show you local to your own computer. So that's the default. If you don't want that, you can tick the UTC option. And the feedback on this is very welcome. So other time zone features might be, in the future, but it would be very nice to know which one you want most, because time zones are a headache for everyone. So yeah.
A question from me there. What is the best way of submitting us this feedback?
Yes, thanks. Yeah, no, that's a good one. Yeah, because we have an ideas portal, and that is the one that should be used. It's at by heart Hume customer dot. Probably I can show you. Let's do this demo.
I will send the link to that in the chat.
You
can take a next question, maybe.
Oh, I'm not sharing screen. Okay, sorry, I was sharing the screen. Anyway, yeah, it's humecustomers.idea.aha.io, but we will share the link. Yeah, there you can find a form to submit ideas. You can even vote for ideas of others, and that help us get an understanding, of what we should prioritize. So please use it. Sorry, Alessandra, go on.
Yeah, so the next question is, somebody is saying that when they click on a component, it takes a long time to open up. And they've tried clearing the cache files, but the problem still persists.
We are speaking about orchestra components in this moment?
Yeah, we are doing that.
Okay. So yes. I understand some cases of this scenario, they might be caused because in orchestra, I show you there is a component after the other, right? You can also have branches, but anyway, in general, a component takes a message in and spits a message out enriched. So that's how components work, right? So every time a component processes a message, it will enrich the message with some more data, right? So it can happen, and depending on what you do with those messages, that after a while, this message is huge, right? So one of the way to, for example, if you, like I had on the screen the web scraper, right? So that goes to the web page and gets all the text and store it. Now the next component will create NLP structures, NLP analysis out of all the text. So if you have many pages of text, and then you have all the sentences and all the tags, all this stuff, the message becomes huge. Now, if you have a lot of messages, that's part of the problem. So one of the solutions we have for that is that you can add purge component. That's the name in the filters compartment. So you can add this purge component. So for example, after you process the NLP data that you need, then you don't need that NLP helper data anymore. So you purge it out. So the message becomes lean after. And that allows you, when you double click it, it will be much faster because you removed the cause. So that's one. In other cases, it might be some memory issues, but I think the answer there would be that we are here to help with the consultancy case by case.
Yeah. And we would recommend to try the purge component first, and then reach out to us, and then we can see. Yeah, definitely. All these kind of problems are like we like to help and solve them. We like you to focus on basically the business side of the problem, right? Not on why the component is slow. Exactly.
Yeah, we have one more issue like this maybe. Sometimes the workflows are never complete, even though the data transfer has finished. So the users have to manually click on stop every time, even though it should be finished.
Sometimes I have the feeling that somebody is testing me, so I will give an answer. I will actually. So the workflow, they are actually streaming pipelines, right? So the whole concept of orchestra is that you can have all these pipelines that take data, listen for data. For example, listen for data to appear in a folder. Listen for data that comes in a message queue like Kafka or Rabbit. So, and then the process that is defined in the workflow process the message, the data, right? And then maybe the data goes in another queue, maybe the data goes in another folder that goes in another database, like, I don't know, Elasticsearch, that is used further on with other components in other workflows, or maybe in even other systems, like in the real world, you also have other systems, not only orchestra working. So the whole idea of orchestra is not to do tasks and stop. So I'm using some of the learnings that I did recently with our CTO. So basically, it's more like a streaming pipeline orchestration than a task management. That we have some features like there is a stop component you can use to stop a workflow. We have the auto start option. We have the scheduler option of the workflow. But it will it will always be orchestration for streaming data pipelines, not for tasks not where you can say, I want to do this and that, then that, and then the task is done. There's no concept of done per se in the way we envision orchestra.
Yeah, that's right.
But you can orchestrate other stuff from orchestra. So I hope that you can do what you need. But if you don't, then again, happy to hear the case and pass it on to the devs.
Okay, thank you. Then we have a question about whether there is a limit to how many actions can you run on auto refresh.
Oh, okay. I don't recommend to have too many actions on auto refresh just because you could have a hard time to make sense of it. But we didn't add any hard limit. So you could have all your actions auto refresh. Also, there is a big difference between, auto refreshing every time interval and auto refreshing when you move stuff on the screen. So because that will happen only when you do some changes, the other would happen automatically every whatever it's the setting that you set every seconds. So I don't know if this is a good answer, but yes, there's no hard limit. Of course, it's a usability limit.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Perfect. So that's it. No more questions. So thank you, guys. Thanks everybody for coming. And if you have any questions or comments, feedback, you can use the idea portal or you can email us, any of us, as you can see on the screen, or us at info@graphaware.com works as well. So thank you everybody for coming and have a good day. Thanks.
Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Bye.